Hello, and welcome to this week's Movie Math, where Hollywood now has its mission. And I think they're going to accept. You see, for a while now, Hollywood has been trying to find its sweet spot in a world where home entertainment is better than it ever has been before. And here's the answer: event counter-programming. It has evolved. Yes, I've seen a couple of people online hyping up the possibility of Doomsday, with Dune, Messiah, and Avengers Doomsday, which just moved, now opening a week apart. That's a fun name for sure, Doomsday, but it's not true counter-programming. They have the same audience. That's not what counter-programming is. So allow me to educate you. So counter-programming, it has a long history in Hollywood. Get ready, get comfortable. You're going to love this. So counter-programming is when two movies open the same weekend. They have to open the same weekend, and they have to be going after different audiences. I'm not saying there's not overlap, but their target audiences are different, so that theoretically, there's room for both. That even happened this weekend. Lilo and Stitch is getting families in the under 35 audience and a very strong Latino turnout, while Mission Impossible is skewing much older. There weren't any diversity demos for Final Reckoning, and in fact, I couldn't find diversity demos for this and the two before it, Mission Impossible movies. Why don't they want to release what do you think? What do you suspect the diversity demos are for Mission Impossible? Anyway, so right there you can see, I'm sure I'm seeing both this weekend, and I already saw them both to review, but I'm going again with friends and family. I think a lot of us go to both. Do you go when they have these events? Do you go to just one, or do you go to both? Do you make it a party? Especially when you have a long holiday weekend like this, if you're in the United States. The rest of you don't have a holiday weekend. All right. So for decades, though, counter-programming is where a smaller film would ride the coattails of a blockbuster. So you'd have this big behemoth, and then this little movie would say, well, some people don't want to watch that blockbuster, so we're going to give them an alternative. And it was almost always going after female audiences. So very often counter-programming would be some art film or a rom-com or something like that. But it was a big movie and a small movie. But then, speaking of women, what changed all this? Barbie! Another pink feather for her cap that she won't get any credit for. It's so frustrating. But Barbie is the film, along with Warner Brothers, they're the studio that invented event counter-programming. This was their idea when they moved on Oppenheimer. Barbenheimer was the first time that two blockbusters, two huge movies, countered. And it's scary. It continues to be scary. It was very aggressive for Warner Brothers to put Barbie there. Remember, there was a lot of drama because Nolan had left the studio. It was a very aggressive move. And in fact, Margot Robbie and her team revealed that Nolan's camp called them up several times saying, you can't do this. But they did. And it turned out great for everybody. Because, the worry is, even today, that there's always a chance that one blockbuster will eclipse the other instead of them being able to coexist. There's always the risk of that. But the brilliance of Barbenheimer, which still hasn't been recreated, by the way, I think we'll get there eventually, but it not only created a party atmosphere where everybody was going to the movies. So you either picked one or you went to both. And I think that's continued to happen. When you go after different audiences in the same weekend with big movies, it creates this feeling that this is a weekend to go to the movies. And it really, it's able to go beyond the usual moviegoers. That's very effective. But what Barbenheimer did was it also created competition, particularly with Nolan's fans who were aghast that Barbie would dare to open against it. And they were like, Barbie cannot beat Oppenheimer. It did at the box office, but Oppenheimer, of course, made up for it with all the Oscars. And Oppenheimer, of course, still did extremely well. Barbenheimer remains the biggest weekend for this new tactic, although Stitch Final Reckoning did manage to outpace Glicked. These names are not as good as Barbenheimer. You got to work on the names. And we'll never know, where Barbenheimer came from. Was it truly organic, or did some genius PR executive sneak it out there? Who cares? It was genius. But yeah, I don't think we've had any as good names since. That was really amazing. I think it could be recreated. I think we can do it. It's going to take some doing, though. And I looked at the upcoming release schedules to see if there were any other possibilities. There are a couple small counter-programming weekends on the horizon, which are more traditional, like counter-programming used to be done. However, when it comes to event counter-programming, the closest I could get was Avatar versus SpongeBob, Scream 7 versus The Cat in the Hat, Resident Evil versus Practical Magic 2. I like that one a lot. I think that one has real potential. That's the new Resident Evil from Zach Krieger, by the way. So I got to tell you, that one to me looks very promising. I mean, Avatar is obviously a big movie, but I don't think SpongeBob is really at the same place it once was. And then Disney seems to be trying to create its own event counter programming, because we thought for sure that they just didn't yet mention that they were going to move Ice Age 6 off of the new, Avengers Doomsday moved to Ice Age 6's date. But maybe Ice Age 6 isn't going to move. Maybe Disney will try to create this within a single studio instead of two studios competing with each other. This is very interesting. I think in the next month or so, you're going to see a couple of movies start to pair up, particularly on holiday weekends and the like. There are a lot of upcoming big movies that I think they could have a dance partner. Studios, or at least one studio, just has to be willing to make that aggressive move. And maybe Disney, maybe unknowingly, has enabled that by making such aggressive moves on Thursday when they move their Avengers movies. What do you think of this new tactic? Who'd have guessed that Tom Cruise's career would be intertwined with Stitches? Wait till you see this. This is hilarious. So Tom Cruise found himself in a photo finish with Stitch back in 2002. Stitch even did a little bit better domestic. And now, 23 years later, they not only find themselves together again, but Stitch, whose Memorial Day weekend did Stitch just break? Tom Cruise's. That's so funny. Tom Cruise, I don't know. I mean, I hope he's not like Christopher Nolan, who would never, to this day, has never acknowledged Barbie. I wonder if maybe to keep this party going, that's not a bad idea. Tom Cruise and Stitch should maybe do a little appearance together. Oh, I love that idea. I would actually try and float that out if I were in either one of their camps. You know, that little Stitch car that he's been driving around in? I don't see why he can't do a stunt with Tom Cruise. I love it. That would be so funny. Oh my gosh. All right, that's a good way to keep this party going. Because, I mean, it would certainly benefit Tom Cruise, because while it was close in 2002, this time around for the 4-day, Stitch is $100 million ahead of Tom Cruise. A little bit different than it was in 2002. In fact, with just a $100 million budget, Lilo and Stitch is already profitable, and it's just getting started. The movie seems to be performing, at least out of the gate, very similar to Moana 2 and Inside Out 2, which both, of course, went on to be billion-dollar pictures. By the way, Moana 2 and Stitch were supposed to be Disney Plus. Disney Plus makes a lot of money for Disney, but, I think they're starting to, not rely on it as much as, it's interesting. I think how to use Disney Plus is still open for debate. And now it took Moana 2 56 days to get to $1 billion, but it got there eventually. But Inside Out 2, just 19 days. And I'm sure that Disney is hoping that Lilo and Stitch will get to $1 billion that quickly, because How to Train Your Dragon 2 comes out in 21 days. So they're like, yes, the 19-day option, please. It's interesting, though. Audience scores for Lilo and Stitch are incredible, but online, a large number of fans are very upset with the number of changes that have been made to the original for the new live action. Very, very angry. But a lot of people who are angry have not seen the movie, so maybe this will keep them from going, although maybe they never intended to go. I'm very interested to see what the second weekend drop looks like for Lilo and Stitch. If this anger with the changes will rear its head at some point, or if Disney is going to get away with it. How did they keep getting away with it? They do. So be sure to subscribe to this channel so you'll be able to keep an eye on Lilo and Stitch's box office week to week. You'll also find out when my own How to Train Your Dragon review for the live action movie goes up in, again, just a few weeks. Let's keep an eye on this fight. However, again, Disney has already turned a profit on Lilo and Stitch. They already did. And Stitch also, as we've been discussing, is primarily a merchandising play. This is just one big commercial for you to buy merch. And I've already bought merch. They're getting me already. And although when it comes to movies, 61% of moviegoers are already saying they want a sequel to Lilo and Stitch. And surely, well, I don't know, Disney got away with only a $100 million budget, but I think they know they have to increase it a little bit. And I'm telling you, you know how you make this sequel work, even for people who are upset? 3 words. Add Captain Gontu. Oh my goodness, it would be such a big deal. There's your sequel, baby. Once again, just like with Super Mario Brothers and a couple of movies as we're seeing these days, particularly in the family movie space, Latino audiences are supercharging these movies to boffo box office. Stitch had a couple of things going for it. You know, it really was able to tap into a number of trends, including, well, we've seen a number of films have a party atmosphere, but I want to point out particularly Barbie and the Minecraft movie, where people would get dressed up. I'd say even more so, maybe even a little bit like Barbie. How many people at your screening were dressed up to celebrate their love of Stitch? Again, he is primarily all about merchandising, and so people wanted to wear that merchandise to the movie and buy some at the theater, as I myself did. So that's very interesting, and I think that is helping the film as well. Again, Disney is going to sell so much merch off of Lilo and Stitch that it's probably going to make way more than it does, even in merch, than it does in theaters. Although, as some of you said, if Disney truly makes that much money off of Stitch and merchandising, why did they greenlight a little bit of a bigger budget so they could do everything they were supposed to the first time around? Disney. All right, so Disney marketing, though, was firing on all cylinders. And talk about new tactics. Disney is experimenting with bringing their animatronics out of the theme park and into the real world. And I think it's proving to be very effective, delighting fans and lighting up social media. I think you're going to see more and more of that. I think that was just excellent. You know, they've been experimenting and having animatronics not just be part of a ride, but moving around within the theme park. And now, again, as I said, they started to bring them like on stage at conventions and stuff like that and presentations. But now fully out into the real world with the general, well, to a degree. I mean, you have to stay away from it so you don't break it, but maybe we'll get to the point where you don't have to stay away. But it's a big, bold move forward for animatronics. And also, I'd like to point out that Universal is proving to be very adept with animatronics themselves. And so you might see them start to do this as well. There's some giant Toothless going around. I think it's in Los Angeles right now. I don't know if it moves like Stitch does, but I think this is the kind of thing you're going to be seeing more and more of, to create that event atmosphere. Speaking of Toothless, with Stitch's huge popularity, we'll see if Toothless enjoys the same. And it's also making me think about Crypto. Will Crypto truly help out Superman? I felt he was very much a Groot, Rocket Raccoon kind of play. And I think it was a very smart idea of James Gunn to include him in the film. You have to get the right balance. You don't want adult fans to feel it's too much of a kiddie film. Although look how much a kiddie film is making with Lilo and Stitch. You know, Warner Brothers has dialed down on the Crypto hype a little bit recently. Maybe they should consider dialing it back up. Just last Sunday, though, we were talking about how Warner Brothers was turning things around. And now here's Disney, with not only their first big theatrical win of 2025, they're not going to stop making live-action remakes anytime soon. But also Andor, as we're going to see when we get to Nielsen, made not just the originals chart, but the overall chart as well. Looks like 3-episode drops and second seasons is showing to be the way for how to go forward with Disney+. Is Star Wars saved? I don't know about that. Andor still seems to be a little bit niche. It certainly is able to trend, although so did Daredevil. And I think there's a group of Star Wars fans and even non-Star Wars fans that really like it. But it's not operating at the level that a Star Wars property is supposed to, which is why it's Star Wars and why Disney wanted to buy it for, $4 billion or whatever. Episodes 4 through 6, aka Night 2, I still feel are super boring, but what an ending to this season. I'd say the final 5 episodes are absolutely incredible. And it's an incredible experience if you then go right into Rogue One. I mean, it's real, just like Rogue One itself was. I mean, it's really I think Andor has a lot of good things about it, and we'll see how it does during awards season. It certainly should get some nominations. What do you think? Has Andor made you feel any bit better about Star Wars? I'm sure some of you are like, no, I still hate it, but maybe some of you don't. But then, speaking of Disney, they're not totally out of the woods yet, because we see Thunderbolts over there in the corner, the corner is right. At this point, it looks like Thunderbolts isn't going to be able to hit $400 million worldwide, and it won't hit $200 million domestic either. That makes it a worse performance than Captain America 4. Ouch! And I told you it was really Black Widow too, although I meant it in a positive way, but you can see that its box office is aligned. Although the first Black Widow was day and date on Disney+. Speaking of Disney+, this is now 2 Marvel movies that Disney+ has seriously undercut, with a number of fans having lost the Marvel plot because they're not watching the Disney+ shows. I watched the new How It Should Have Ended for Thunderbolts, and I think one of the best gags was they kept being like, who? Whatever character would come on screen. I thought that was very funny. Like they even pointed out that some people probably had no idea who Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character was. And I'm, how many of you don't watch the Disney Plus shows? I mean, I would think you would, I don't know. It's interesting to me how Marvel is shedding fans. Fantastic Four, though, is all new for the MCU, but it's not new overall. This is the 3rd reboot for a superhero team that's never been quite accepted by casuals. Casuals don't seem to like the Fantastic Four very much. I mean, the first main movie did get a sequel, but, you know, it wasn't huge. It was never Spider-Man or X-Men or something like that. Perhaps that's why Disney is like, live-action Incredibles 2, or The Incredibles, live-action The Incredibles, when trying to promote Fantastic Four. Superman, also not totally new. It's also a reboot, so we'll see. Both these films, of course, are opening pretty close together, but not the same weekend, and they go after the same audience in July. They're 2 weekends apart. If they also flop, then I think it's an overall problem with superheroes. I think it would be a better argument for superhero fatigue. But if one or both of them do well, then I think, it's either if Fantastic Four flops, then it's a Marvel problem overall. But if Fantastic Four does well, then it's truly going to be Disney Plus. But we're going to get a better picture of what's going on in the superhero space when Superman and Fantastic Four release. How do you think they're going to do? Meanwhile, Hannah Waddingham is sure having an amazing weekend as she is in both these movies. That's fantastic. Her agent is like, Yahtzee. And Tom Cruise should be happy too. He should be a happy guy, as he was not only able to regain Mission Impossible's momentum after getting punched in the face by Barbenheimer 2 years ago, but he managed to deliver Mission Impossible's best opening weekend yet. That's their best? Yeah, Mission Impossible has never been that franchise. Usually it's been smart about that and kept its budgets under $200 million. In fact, Fallout, in my opinion, still the best entry in the franchise, was made for just $178. But so as you can see, the budgets are out of control. But Paramount, this is not an ongoing problem for Paramount. This was a special situation. Not only are the runaway budgets for these last 2 films due to COVID and the writer and actor strikes, but Paramount made the mistake of greenlighting these back-to-back films without scripts. This is a trend that Hollywood also needs to address. And kudos to James Gunn for promising that he will never do a DC film. He will never move one into production unless the script is locked. That's not to say you can't tweak it down the line, but it should be in a place where everybody feels really good about it. I mean, the rumor is they're shooting Avengers Doomsday without a script or something. It's crazy. Although James Gunn has to deliver results to really make that stick. We might be laughing about Doomsday now, but it might blow Superman out of the water when it comes to box office. So, the proof is, in the box office. So we'll see what happens. But it's a nice thought, James. All right, but forget a locked script. Paramount greenlit Mission Impossible 7 and 8 with no scripts. They weren't even they weren't where we wanted them to be. They didn't exist. Instead, they greenlit a pitch from Tom Cruise and Christopher McQuarrie, and they ain't never going to do that again. That was a big mistake. But surely they will keep making Mission Impossible movies, probably with Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise will surely take a break to focus on other projects. He wants to send himself into space, and I suspect he probably wants to win an Oscar as well. I think he'll either get the stunt Oscar, when it debuts in a few years, or I don't see Tom Cruise getting an Oscar until he's much older, like in maybe 20 years, when he's in his 70s. Well, he's 10 years away from his 70s, 20 years away from his 80s. Knock on wood, I think that's probably more likely when he's going to find himself an Oscar. But he'll be back to this franchise, if nothing else, to anoint his successor and hand the franchise over to someone else. Like maybe Glenn Powell? Oh, I mean, they're even buddies. I actually think that Glenn Powell would be an excellent choice to take over Mission Impossible. It's funny because Cruise was very resentful, of course, back in the day of Paramount trying to hand the franchise over to Jeremy Renner. Remember that when Cruise was in a slump because of his couch jumping? But Cruise managed to push Renner out. It was pretty brutal. I mean, they kept it on the down low, but we could all see what was happening. But I think with Cruise passing the baton on his own terms, I think he would do that, particularly if he could continue to produce the films and show up for cameos as old Ethan Hunt. I think Tom Cruise would love that. Do a stunt here and there. Who would you like to see take over the Mission Impossible franchise? And also, is part of the requirement that they do their own stunts as well, just as Tom Cruise has. But then there's that huge budget. What a shadow over this film. But not over the franchise, as we're about to show. All right, so interestingly, this is not the most expensive movie ever made. I know, but it wasn't so bad for these other movies because they actually all ended up making a lot of money, many of them going well over $1 billion. So they actually still turned a profit. But Mission Impossible Final Reckoning, getting to $1 billion, I think, is going to prove impossible. Mission Impossible, I mean, it's going to still do pretty well, especially because unlike what happened with Barbenheimer and it lost its IMAX screens almost immediately, this time around, they learned, Tom Cruise learned his lesson and they've locked down IMAX screens for 3 weeks until How to Train Your Dragon comes out. Mission Impossible is a franchise that has been going on now for almost 30 years, and it will probably go on forever. And that's where the true value lies for Paramount. They get to, the ancillary market, which, hotels, airplanes, selling it to cable or, leasing it to cable. But then, of course, also streaming. I think there's a number going around that they make $10 million a year off of the old Mission Impossible movies already. And that's forever, 10 million perpetuity. And then also I think Paramount, as you can see, is starting to get into experiences because they just announced they're going to do a Top Gun experience in Vegas. And if that does well, surely a Mission Impossible experience isn't too far behind. And with fantastic audience scores, Cruise has again managed to get Mission Impossible's momentum back. He's got the franchise back in everyone's good graces, and that's where it needs to be. They won't let this happen again. And I think that damage control was done. And I think at the end of the day, it'll be worth it for Paramount. As for the rest of the top 10, Hollywood did it. The best Memorial Day weekend of all time with the top 10 altogether delivering $322 million. Ka-ching! Theaters are like dancing and popcorn and money. It's wonderful. Hopefully this indicates a strong and healthy summer for movies driven by event films. And premium screens, by the way. Even if you don't go to a premium screen yourself, I think the discussion of premium screens goes a long way. Build more of them! What are you waiting for? And also, walk-up business continues to be the new norm, with 45% of both Lilo and Stitch and Mission Impossible Final Reckoning's tickets bought day of, which again, I think underscores the importance of that event party atmosphere. You're like, maybe we should go. Everybody's talking about it. Sinners certainly had that element, and it's leaving Marvel's Thunderbolts in the dust. Still, Sinners has impressive holds in its 6th weekend. That's amazing. And yeah, Warner Brothers continues to do very well. It has 3 movies in the top 10. 3! At a single time. Final Destination, very cheap. Only $40 to $50 million to make, already turned a profit. Sinners, as we just discussed, and of course, Minecraft. Still in the top 10, baby. It's been on digital for over a week now. It's still in the top 10 and doing millions of dollars. It's not even slipped below $1 million. That's amazing. I love Minecraft. I think it deserves it. I know a lot of you don't agree. All right, so Angel Studios also seems to be finding its footing. They really felt after Sound of Freedom that they were there to stay, and it did not work out so well for them. Although they're still using that trick some of you told me of like getting you to donate tickets to other people to, I think, push their box office. But I mean, it's legal and it works, so whatever. Do you donate any tickets to Angel Studios Productions? And how do you feel about that? This is interesting. But anyway, I think they're starting, I think they were trying a little too hard before, but I think they're finally starting to find the right content to really kind of connect with conservative moviegoers. I mean, the last rodeo wasn't even a true wide release, only it's about a 50% of what you would usually have for a wide release. It wasn't in every theater and it wasn't playing all day long, But look, they're still in the middle of the top 10. I mean, that's very strong for what Angel Studios, I think, is trying to build. They're doing it. A24's friendship continues to grow, so much so that they've even gotten my attention finally. I was like, ain't no way I'm ever going to watch that. But now I'm like, I'm not going to see it in theaters, but I'm like, all right, you've done it. When your movie hits digital, I'll check it out. Have any of you watched Friendship? Is it actually good? I do like me some Paul Rudd. And that other guy I see on the internet all the time. So let's see what they're doing. Speaking of digital, while The Accountant 2 has not set a release date yet officially, it should be heading to digital quite soon, as it's almost out of the top 10. I'm going to watch that one also on digital. I feel bad I missed it in theaters. Now let's head over to digital, where, as always, we start with Nielsen, which is a month behind in the ratings. Can't they move this up at all? It's crazy how far behind they are. But they do have, I think, the most trustworthy numbers in the charts for streaming. They got that going for them. So slow, though. All right, so this, again, as I said, late April. And this is The Last of Us's, The Last of Us, as of to all Sunday night HBO shows, drop at the very end of the window that is the Nielsen chart. So this is really the viewership numbers for the most part for season 2, episode 2. And as you can see, it's quite high up there. That was the big episode. So next week, we'll start to see if, what happened during that episode impacts the viewership at all. And we'll see if it if it drops suddenly, or if it slowly drops, or it waits and then drops after that, or maybe it doesn't drop at all. Are you still watching The Last of Us season 2? I think we're all very curious to see what those numbers look like in the weeks ahead. And there's Andor. Not only are we finally seeing a Disney Plus original back on these charts, but it's on the overall. That's not only thanks to the 3-episode drop at a time, basically a 3-hour movie. They start too late, though. What do you think? I think if you're going to drop 3 episodes, you got to move the drop time up. I mean, I know that The Boys drops at 9, but that's like an adult show. I feel like Disney Plus, I'm advocating for moving the Star Wars and Marvel shows to Hulu. But if you're going to drop 3 episodes on Disney Plus, you got to drop them like the latest 8 o'clock Eastern Standard. I prefer 7. I would like 7. That's 4 o'clock on Pacific, but whatever. I don't care. I think they should do it. What do you think? What would be a good, if they're going to keep dropping 3 episodes at once and they're going to do it for Ironheart, what time do you think they should drop them? Eastern Standard. You're going to have to do the math for your own time zone. All right. But also, it's a season 2. So people who want to watch it have to go back and watch season 1, which helps, of course, on the Nielsen chart. So that's also very helpful. Disney Plus has been like, ooh, 2nd seasons, 3rd seasons, boo, except for Loki. And so I'm glad they're going to start going back and doing more seasons. And then surely, I think as Andor continues over the next few weeks on the Nielsen charts, when we get to the finale, I bet we see Rogue One surge as well. And that'll be fun to see. And while Netflix might not have a show or movie that everyone's talking about right now, as you can see, they're still dominating overall. Tom Hardy is doing very well on streaming. Wow, with Havoc debuting here is the top movie of the week. And then over on the originals chart, Mobland continues to just hang on here. The Handmaid's Tale is having a very hot final season. But while The Wheel of Time has consistently been on these charts, it still just got canceled. Word is that while Prime Video actually loves the show and is very happy with it, it's just too expensive. Seems the budgets are out of control on the small screen as well. Why didn't they just make it for cheaper? Whatever, it's tough. Sorry, Wheel of Time fans. I feel bad for you. Then with movies, this was the week that Pope Francis tragically passed away, and Conclave, as you can see, surged on Prime Video. Why isn't it on Peacock? I believe that was like a Universal film, right? I mean, the way where these movies are at any moment it seems to usually make no sense. Over on Netflix's charts, Vince Vaughn, his movie, still number 1. That's very, very interesting to me. Vince Vaughn, he's always tilted a little bit towards conservative audiences, but he's making it, I think, every once in a while for the past few years, he's made it more clear. And he did one of those publicity elements, let's say, very close to this film's release. And I wonder if that's actually helping it as he, reaches out to I don't know. Have you always been a Vince Vaughn fan? Or you just recently become one? Have you stopped becoming one? What's your current relationship with Vince Vaughn. And did you watch Nona's, which looked pretty awful to me, but maybe it was surprisingly good. Then there's Havoc. So here, that's the thing. Nielsen is a month behind. Netflix, again, is only a week behind. So we just saw Havoc debut on Nielsen, but here on Netflix, it's already on its 4th week on these charts. And it's still pretty high up, as you can see. Then with shows, there are 2 documentaries on top this week. That's very unusual. And overall, 8 Netflix originals take up this chart, showing that Netflix's quantity strategy continues to be extremely effective. On digital, on Apple's charts, Minecraft and Warfare still on top for the 2nd weekend in a row. Love both those movies. I'm very happy to see it. And there you go, Paramount. I told you the Mission Impossible franchise is valuable. They've got 3 of the top 10 spots for Mission Impossible. One of them, a bundle. But ooh, that's a cheap bundle. You get all those movies for just $25. That's usually the cost of just one single new movie. That's amazing. Same price point for that Studio Ghibli bundle. Whew, they got some good sales going on. Although I still am surprised, I don't usually buy, I still buy movies occasionally, but with streaming, I feel, what? I know some of you but you still don't own it technically. You don't have the physical copy. If you drop your subscription to that digital service, you wouldn't have it anymore. I really only usually buy movies if that's the only way I can rent them because they're new. I'll probably end up buying Friendship and The Accountant too, unless they're available to rent. But under what circumstances these days do you buy a movie digitally? And then there's Until Dawn, which of course was just recently in theaters and has come to digital with little fanfare. As for this coming weekend, only Sony's Karate Kid Legends dare challenge Lilo and Stitch and Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. Whoa, that was a lot of words to say. It took me several times to say all that. But it's the only challenger, and it's really only challenging Lilo and Stitch. And we'll see how it does. Although, I gotta tell you, a lot of adults like Karate Kid, because of course that franchise has been around for a while itself. We'll see how it does. Early word of mouth has not been great. I'm seeing it early this week, and I think the trailer looks good, so I'm excited to see it. Also hitting theaters is A24's horror film Bring Her Back, and Wes Anderson's The Phoenician Scheme starts out in limited release. It will soon be going wide. Then on digital, Shadow Force, sadly, was very short-lived in theaters and will drop on digital Friday. Instead of a Tuesday release, they're going to do it for the weekend. Then on streaming, Captain America 4, it's trickled its way down to Disney Plus finally, and that'll be on Wednesday. While on Friday, Dogman finally hits NBC Universal streaming service Peacock. As for Netflix, Saturday is their own version of Comic-Con with their ta-dum presentation. So that'll be on Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it'll be streaming live on Netflix. They're promising a big show, a real big show, as Netflix also continues to experiment. It's interesting that they're streaming their own presentation. I know many of you would love it if Disney Plus and, for instance, Max would stream Comic-Con presentations for Marvel and DC, and perhaps if ta-dum does big enough numbers, maybe they will. There's a reason for you to watch it. But yes, the Stranger Things 5 trailer is expected to be part of the festivities. Finally, with shows, tonight, Rick and Morty Season 8 starts on Hulu, although I don't watch it. I just know it is the show that ruined Marvel with many of their writers. I wish Kevin Feige had never seen that show. While on Tuesday, the entire Season 2 of The Second Best Hospital in the Galaxy drops on Prime Video. Wednesday, FX starts new series Adults, while on Thursday, Max kicks off Season 3 of Just Like That. Prime Video drops the entire season of The Better Sister with Jessica Biel and Elizabeth Banks. How bad could that be? That's a good duo. While Netflix also, of course, as always, drops the entire season of Department Q. Oh, awesome show alert! I got a lot of screeners. I watched these. Netflix is very good with screeners. I got these screeners in advance. I love this show. I watched it so quickly. You will watch it in 1 to 3 days. It's long. It's 9 episodes, and they're all about an hour. Oh, you're going to be eating good with this one. It's an incredible mystery. Such a good mystery. With very interesting characters and a great cast. This is a British adaptation, actually, of a very popular Danish book series that was turned into a series of films, in fact, in Denmark. And I guess haven't gone far beyond that. And they're going to see if this British adaptation can become a global phenomenon. I don't know. Let's see how well it does. I think it's really strong. I really highly recommend that you watch that. Also on Thursday, for the summer, Fox is moving their animation block from Sundays to Thursdays. What's going to be on Sundays? I looked it up. I was so curious. apparently like events programming and stuff like that, and then also something from Gordon Ramsay. That Gordon Ramsay's got so many lives. He just can't, it's really amazing. So this animation block on Thursdays will be kicking off with all new episodes. And that's this week's Movie Math. What have you been watching? What do you plan to watch? And do you think the party for both Lilo and Stitch and Mission Impossible Final Reckoning will be able to continue beyond this weekend? Share those thoughts down below, subscribe today, and of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.